Hello everybody, Justin here with Hammocking for a Fat Man. This channel is dedicated to those guys that might be a little bit bigger, that love to be on the trail. I go over gear, tips and tricks on how to get to the ultralight status, even being a bigger man. Today's topic is going to be about backpacks, and specifically my backpack journey. What steps I took from start to finish, and what worked for me and what did not work for me. So, my very first backpack, it was a beast, to say the least. Uh, the backpack was a Bergens of Norway, 2095 Alpinist, 130 liters. This backpack was massive, and not only massive in the volume that it could hold, but this thing was so heavy. It weighed, I think it was around 8.5 pounds. Just the backpack, nothing inside of it. And to give you kind of like a insight of what I have now, my backpack, my whole system, my sleep system, my cook system, everything, extra clothes, all in my backpack now weighs around 8.5, 8.75 pound. So significant difference from start to finish. And this backpack, I'm not knocking it. It was a fantastic backpack. It how I started, because whenever I first started, I had, me and my friend kind of calculated it. I believe it was around 65 pounds just in the backpack. We were carrying like a machete in order to bushwhack. Well, we had no idea what we were doing. It was our first backpacking trip, so we prepared for everything. And I think we had like 8 or 10 liters worth of water in our backpacks, so it's a crazy amount of weight. And this backpack, believe it or not, held that well. Held it very well. I wasn't having pain on my shoulders. I wasn't having back problems. My legs were burning for obvious reasons, but the backpack itself, it held the weight very well. And I was kind of impressed by it, but after our first trip, I knew I had to reduce the weight, because within 10 minutes on the trail, I realized I messed up. And so what I ended up doing was selling that backpack, and I borrowed my friend's backpack that he happened to get on Amazon. And to be honest, we don't even remember the name of it. But carrying the load that I had after going through my pack, what I needed, what I didn't need, I was still running about 40 pounds, which is pretty heavy, but not as heavy as the 60. And when I borrowed his backpack, my shoulders were killing me. The None of the weight felt like it was on my hips. It was just overall a very miserable time. And I went home, started doing more research, and I couldn't really find a backpack that was somewhat within my price range, and just overall, it wouldn't fit me. So what I decided to do was go to a local backpacking outdoor store, and they were really cool guys. They allowed me to look at the backpacks. They even allowed me to bring my gear in and kind of somewhat stuff it down into the bag and put it on, just kind of give a little bit of a feel of what I was going to have somewhat on the trail. And the backpack that I found that kind of worked for me was the Osprey Kestrel 32 liter. 32 liters is a really small pack, but my whole idea behind that pack was I need to reduce the things that I'm carrying. I need to reduce my weight. So I figured the best way to do that was to take a small pack and limit myself of what I could have. And the Kestrel 32, it felt really comfortable. And whenever it forced me to reduce my pack size, my pack went from a 40 some pound to about a 20-25 pounds. It helped me out significantly. It it carried well. I wasn't struggling. I wasn't in that much pain or any of the real negative stuff that a lot of beginners really find. And I would really suggest this pack even for a bigger guy because in the back they have like this little velcro piece that you can adjust the torso height, and I found that bringing it all the way up to the top worked very well for me because I soon found out the previous backpacks that I was finding and trying to use, they weren't the right torso length. So started really looking into it, found what my torso size was, and I haven't really had that much pain on my shoulders as I previously did. And so if you're looking for a good beginner's backpack and you've already went on your first backing trip, you know this is going to be a hobby that you really want to get into. I really suggest the Kestrel 32 just because it limits you on what you can bring out there on the trail. Because believe it or not, you don't need a survival kit to last out in the wilderness for like a week. Especially when you're just doing a backpacking trip over the weekend with a couple friends. That's typically what I do anyways. So, continuing on with the trail and my journey, finding the right backpack for me. The next thing I bought, even whenever I first began backpacking, I was like, man, I really want this backpack. And that backpack was the Osprey Exos, and I happened to buy the 48 liter. It's the old style, which if you look right here, I actually still have it. And this pack, it's amazing. I seriously do love it. I watched quite a bit of reviews, and this is the older version, and I do prefer the older version over the newer version. One, it's lighter, but also I think the features of it were a little bit more dialed in than the newer ones. But that backpack, believe it or not, inspired me to really look at frames and the frames of a backpack and to kind of look into going frameless or having a frame that really suits me well, right? And I believe it's called the Airspeed suspension on the Exos, and it's on the Levity too. It seriously reduced a problem that I had on the trail that I know it's because of my size. Of course you're going to sweat on the trail, but for a bigger guy like me, sweat's a big thing because I'm, of course, being a bigger guy, I'm going to sweat more than my skinnier friends just because I have more body heat, I have more insulation, in other words. And whenever I was using my first couple backpacks, even with the Kestrel, I would find my back would pour down a sweat. And like it would even soak my pants, right? And, which I know is kind of getting a little bit nasty, but it's the truth. And that was a huge concern for me. So whenever I was looking to the Exos, like it said about air going in the back, because with the suspension, you can kind of see there's like a little gap right here, and in that gap allows airflow. That airflow, I have found out, you'll look up reviews on and stuff like that, and everybody's like, oh yeah, you're going to sweat no matter what. Well, yeah, but after using this backpack for a long time, I decided to go to kind of like a frameless backpack, and it was the Granite Gear Crown. The only thing was my back was pouring down sweat, and what I ended up doing was actually hiking with a friend that had the backpack, and we would switch backpacks. just to see what worked and what we liked about each other's pack. And believe it or not, we actually both agreed this made a huge difference. And I would highly suggest that one too. And to be honest, the next backpack that I bought was the Osprey Levity, and it was the 45 liter. It wasn't built as well as the Exos. The Exos felt like it had a wider base that really worked for my back, and the Levity felt like it was more narrower, like it was built for a smaller guy. And I guess that's because they were looking to reduce weight as much as they could, and I guess they felt as though they could kind of skimp on that. In which, for a skinnier guy, it would probably work fantastically. But for the bigger guy, I found it to not work as well. Because I was super excited. I was like, I love the Exos. I love the suspension on the back. The Osprey has the exact same suspension. This is going to work out great. Plus, it's almost like half a pound lighter. So I was super excited. But once I had it, it just wasn't the pack for me. Then I finally found, I guess, my final solution thus far. We'll see what comes out later on. But it was the Z-Packs Arc Haul. The Arc Haul, which I have up here, is my backpack of choice. The reason why, because it has, whenever you kind of pull down on the straps, you'll have that airflow in the back, like the Osprey. But it is only about 1.5 pounds for the whole backpack compared to the Exos. That's about 2.5 pounds. So losing about 1 pound. The suspension, the airflow suspension on this is not as good. And to be honest, like an honest opinion, the Exos that I have over here, I believe it rides better on me than the Z-Packs Arc Haul. And there's actually a couple reviews out there that kind of agree with me. But the amount of weight that you save with this backpack, and I found that it gives you that airflow. I don't sweat nearly as bad back there. It's just, it kind of works for me. But I absolutely love the Exos, and that's why I still have the Exos. And in the winter time, whenever weight's not really that going to be that big of a deal, I'll probably be taking the Exos over the Arc Haul. But in summer, this is what I have. It took a long time to get to this point, but I'm extremely happy that I did. But a couple accessories that I really found helpful for me, I'll kind of go over because I have them attached to this pack. The very first one that I have is sold by Z-Packs, and this is the multi-pack. The multi-pack is, I think it's like a 3-liter pack, something like that, that has a zipper on there that allows you to put and store things. This thing is massive and solves all the problems I had, because for a bigger guy that has a belly, getting into the pockets, like hip belt pockets, sometimes could be a little bit harder, and you have to add like extra loop and stuff like that on the zipper part, and I found it to be pretty uncomfortable. I didn't really care to get into my hip belt pockets, mostly because my belly was getting in the way. But this goes on your chest, and I'm able to unzip it here, because on this Arc Haul I don't have hip belt pockets. I just don't. Didn't see really any need for it, and this solved a lot of my problems, because believe it or not, I keep everything I need throughout the day in here. Like, I'll keep my medical kit. I'll keep my sunglasses. I'll keep sunscreen, insect cream, that type of thing. I'll keep my flashlight inside. I'll end up keeping like my phone. This is the case for the phone, but I'm actually using it to record, so but I would keep my phone inside here. I'd even keep my snacks like in a Ziploc bag and stuff it down in there. So this thing holds a lot of stuff, and I found it just to solve a lot of my issues. So definitely worth the 40 or 50 bucks for this pack accessory here. Very, very, very useful. Second thing that I really found was these little cords right here. I actually made this out of paracord, but all it is a loop that was tied, and then I fish the string through to create another loop that's a little bit adjustable. And what I do with this is I'll take a water bottle, and which is usually a 1 liter water bottle for me, and I'd snap it on. Now it just hangs off my pack, and these are on the shoulder straps. On the bottom of the shoulder straps I have some little stretch cord, shock cord, that goes, wraps around and snaps on in. Holds it perfectly. Keep one here, keep one here. Also found this very useful for like holding my bear spray. Been pretty handy for that too. The next thing I have is pretty much the exact same system, but Germ-X hand sanitizer. Kind of just hangs down there as I'm walking along. I could get my hands a little dirty maybe before I eat. Use some hand sanitizer. It's just hanging right there. Always have it. I don't have to reach inside my pack, get germs all over the place, all that good stuff. So that was another little handy thing that I've learned throughout the years. To give you more of an insight of how these little tricks work, you'll notice that my water bottles, they don't move anywhere. Even when I bend down, still no movement. It also helps with distributing weight, and like bending under trees and stuff like that. You'll notice a little air gap that I have going on. Drinking from these shoulder straps, super easy. Don't even have to take them off the hook. Snap them right back in. Good to go. Won't move anywhere. Show you how easy it is to get inside the pack. This is actually a 3.5 liter and not 3 point like I actually said. Super easy to get into. I don't have to cross over, try to get into the hip belt pockets. A well worth buy in my opinion. Please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe for more information.